All right, guys. Just want to go over the causes of World War One. Obviously, if we were doing this in class, you would have a note sheet, which you do not have. So there'll be some questions that'll pop up here on the Edpuzzle to just make sure you're following along. This is also on YouTube, which I'll post that link as well without the Edpuzzle questions. You do have to do the Edpuzzle questions for a grade. However, if you want to rewind it, make sure you understand things, you can do that in Edpuzzle as well. But I can post it both places just if you want to go back and review. All right, so our goal today is to figure out what caused World War One. All right, so 1914 to 1919, World War One is going to erupt throughout Europe. So, this is a world history class, but I like to note that the U.S. isn't going to get involved until later, 1917, 1918. So the very beginning of the war, we talk about European powers fighting World War One, and you can see across the map, we're going to break up into two groups, the Allies and the Central Powers. A lot of people are into World War II, and they confuse it with the Axis powers. We will not talk about the Axis powers until World War II. So in this war, it's the Allies and the Central Powers. World War I is known as the Great War, or sometimes the War to End All Wars. It was not called World War I because World War II did not exist until later. And it's often called the Great War or the War to End All Wars because it was incredibly destructive. It was the most destructive war the world had seen, and that's because, and I would ask this question in class, I'd be like, all right, does anybody know why? It's because of industrialization. The world had industrialized weapons, weapons that we had not seen before, and weapons that could kill at a much higher rate. So the destruction and the devastation that we'll see after World War I is unprecedented for the time. It had never happened until obviously later on, but at that time it had never happened. And it's going to alter the course of the 20th century. It's going to cause World War II. So it's really going to change the way our world is going to go. So let's talk about how it, what caused it. So several things happen. You can see here from 1870 to 1914. So we're talking about, 40 some years here. That's going to lead to the tension that will outbreak of World War I. So this doesn't just happen overnight. This builds up. It happens over time. Think of, if you've ever just lost it on someone, maybe a sibling or, classmate, someone who's really, really been annoying you. And it's not just the one thing they did. It's built up over time and you just couldn't take it anymore. That's what's going to happen here as World War I kind of starts brewing. Now, hopefully you watched the Edpuzzle video that I posted and asked you to watch first, kind of laid the foundation of the four main causes. So I think, what's easy about remembering these is an acronym. It helps you remember the four main causes of World War I. So militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. So let's review each of these. Militarism is exactly as it sounds. It's just building up your military. Every country in Europe wanted to show that they were the strongest, they had the best military, and so it was essentially a race to see who could have the best, the strongest, the most weapons, the best military in Europe. Preparing for war, it's called militarism. This happened during industrialization. If you remember, we talked a little bit about Germany during industrialization and how they were how they were industrializing, really setting the stage for World War I because they were building up their army, building up their military. Next, these are out of order. Sorry, we're going to jump to imperialism. As countries are going to compete for colonies, we just saw this in our last unit, it leads them to the brink of war. And you do not have to have these three situations memorized. It just kind of gives you an example of several times that Europe almost went to war fighting over territory in Africa and arguing in this case, India as well. So competition is going to brew between European countries. There's going to be some rivalries. There's going to be some hurt feelings over land in Europe, over European countries over land in Africa and Asia. And that's going to lead countries also to the brink of war. Alliances. If we were in class, I would have called a couple people to the front of the room. I would have tried to find two sets of people who I knew were friends. So it's, kind of imagine two friends on one side of the room, two friends on the other side of the room. And I would have said, if one person on one side of the room, the other person on the other side of the room kind of like start shoving each other, what's going to happen? Their friends are going to jump in and help out. Think of it, I often use the sports analogy of when two players get in a fight, one player from one team and a player from the other team, usually their teammates clear from the bench and come and back them up. Not that I'm condoning fighting, but it's happened before in a sporting event. And that's going to cause you to support your teammate. In this case, the teams are divided here in purple. You see the triple entente, which basically means friendship. These three countries here decided, Russia, France, and Great Britain, that, hey, listen, if one of us gets attacked, we'll help each other out. We'll back each other up. Germany and Austria-Hungary, they were rather large countries. They said, all right, we're neighbors. We'll help each other out. And Italy kind of gets thrown in the mix because they're neighbors there as well. So those are going to be the two rivalries that are going to start brewing during World War I. And what we're going to see is Austria-Hungary get involved in the war, but because Germany's their buddy, they're going to get involved in war. We're going to see Russia early on get involved in war. Well, because France is their buddy, they're going to get involved in war. So it really pulls in more countries than what the original argument was about. And here you can see the two different groups, the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance. Okay, last of the four main causes, nationalism. I think we've covered nationalism before, right? Extreme pride in one's country. So just tremendous pride in your country. You feel like your country is the best. Your country is going to win, and it's going to throw that rivalry even stronger. So you really, really want to defeat the other countries throughout Europe. And so they're going to try to maintain a balance of power while also trying to overpower each other. And eventually we're going to see a spark here in a second that's going to blow all of this up and cause war. All right. So as nationalism is extreme pride in one's country, it's also unifying people who are like one another. So let's look right here in the bottom right for a second. See the Ottoman Empire right here. The Ottoman Empire used to stretch into this area right here. Okay. Well, then these five countries, broke away from the Ottoman Empire and created their own countries. Well, when you create a country, most of the time, not all the time, of course, but a lot of the time, the people of that country have some things in common, whether it be a language or holidays, some kind of cultural similarities. And think about this. People like to be around people who are like them. That's not to say that, differences are good, of course, but think about it. When the United States was being, as the United States was shaped, as people started immigrating to the U.S., people started settling near one another who were like them. If you've ever visited New York City, you've got a Little Italy, you've got a Chinatown. People settled near one another who spoke their language, who celebrated the same cultural traditions. We're going to see that kind of spark World War I. This region, this is just a bigger picture of what I had right here. So if you go from here to here, it's just a bigger image. Is called the Balkans. Okay, and because these countries going to break away from the Ottoman Empire is going to create a lot of tension. All right, so Serbia, Greece, Albania, Bulgaria, Romania, all right here, break from the Ottoman Empire and create a new nation. Serbia is created of a group of people called the Slavic people. All right, it's a cultural group of people. Well, there's a lot of Slavic people living in Austria-Hungary right here, okay, right to their west. Serbia says, hey, Austria-Hungary, give us this land. Let all the Slavic people live together in one country. Well, Austria-Hungary wants land, so they say no. It's going to create a lot of tension. This area becomes a powder keg. The term powder keg comes from when guns used to be loaded with like gunpowder. You would actually pack your gun with gunpowder. You would get gunpowder out of an actual keg, a wooden keg. And so these were extremely explosive, which is why the term powder keg means this area is just waiting to blow up. They just need a spark. Well, that spark is going to be the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Okay, so Franz Ferdinand, he's royalty, he's Austrian-Hungarian royalty. He's taking a trip through Serbia, and he's assassinated, he and his wife, okay, by this man, Gavrilo Princip. Okay, well, Austria-Hungary is irate. They're like, turn him over, that's it. Any country would have been, right? Like, you just assassinated some of our royalty. So Austria-Hungary says to Serbia, turn over the people who did this or else. we're going to war. Serbia's like, okay, let's go to war. Let's do it. So you got teeny tiny little Serbia here, who was just founded. They just formed this country when they broke off from the Ottoman Empire. Says they're going to go fight the big bad Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Okay, on paper, this is a David and Goliath situation. This is a, big empire going to defeat the teeny tiny little nation. But you have alliances. Russia also had a lot of Slavic people in its country. So Russia's kind of like the big brother. Serbia's kind of like the little brother. So Russia's going to move their troops right here. And they're like, all right, Austria-Hungary, declare war. That's fine. But then we're coming for you. Well, if Russia is coming for them, then France is coming for them, then Great Britain's coming for them. And you've got that alliances factoring in here. And you're going to see a chain reaction set off World War I. So follow me here, all right? We've got Austria-Hungary and Serbia mad at one another. Russia's going to move to protect Serbia. Germany now says, all right, fine, Austria-Hungary, you're my buddy. We're going to declare war on Russia and Serbia. Since you two are allies, we're declaring war on both of you. So Germany declares war on Russia. Then they declare war on France. You might be like, well, how did France get involved in this? Well, France and Russia are allies. So Germany just jumped the gun. France most likely would have declared war back. Germany just did it first. Well, since Germany is at war with France and Russia, Great Britain says, all right, well, we got to back up our buddies because of our alliance. So guess what? We're going to come to war too. Germany, Austria-Hungary, we're coming to war. Italy backs out of their original agreement to be on Germany and Austria-Hungary side and joins the Allies. So if we were actually coloring in a map, we would cross this out right here in red, and we would turn it to purple. And now you've got World War I. Okay, I realize that that's a lot. So if you want to go back through that and watch that one more time, while you won't necessarily have to remember every tiny detail there, I think it might be wise if you weren't following along easily to go back and do that one more time. A couple quick terms and then we'll be finished. Right here, Western Front. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about fighting there. Right here, Eastern Front. Okay, a little bit of spoiler alert. Germany's really going to struggle in this war because they have to fight a two-front war. They have to fight enemies on both sides. It's like if you were to be in a fight and you had somebody coming at you from the front and someone coming at you from behind. So you're going to see a lot of terminology here with the Eastern and the Western Front. Germany and Austria-Hungary become the Central Powers. Bulgaria and the Ottoman Empire here in this tannish orangish color will join them. They're not going to provide a whole lot, but they will help them with what they can. And the triple entente becomes known as the Allied Powers, and they're joined by all these countries around the world. And if you go back, basically you can see here, Germany in orange had imperialized some of these countries. Great Britain had imperialized India, had some dealings with China, had imperialized Australia. So you see a lot of countries that were connected to those European countries from imperialism involved in the war. All right, go back through that if you need to. It's important to understand the difference between the four main causes and then the spark of World War I, which that spark was the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. All right, hopefully you're understanding this, guys. If not, please ask questions. We can hop on and do a quick Zoom call. Anything to help, I'm happy to do it. Just let me know.